morning, everyone. Today is the first day of the new academic year at Gyan Vihar School. You can feel the energy in the halls and that first day buzz. Now, usually when we talk about integrity, it's about not cheating on a maths exam. But as the first podcast of this season, we wanted to apply it to a bigger stage. We as students must ask ourselves, if integrity is so important in school, why does it seem so absent in the world outside? Across the globe, conflicts shape people's life, future, and history. And one of the most serious conflicts is the crisis between Iran and Israel. So today, we explore a big question. What does integrity look like in times of war? Good morning, sir. To start off, when we look at the Iran-Israel conflict, is it just a regional conflict, or could this shape the future of global peace and stability?
Undoubtedly, it's no more confined to the region, especially the way there is an interdependence across the states throughout the world, not alone in terms of the economy, in terms of the culture, in terms of even the warfare. It cannot be termed as a regional conflict. In fact, it is a mini world war.
Definitely, sir. But beyond politics and power, what is the real impact of the war on families, children, and students like us who are not directly involved in the war but face the most consequences?
I must really compliment, especially your generation, who knows that the causative factor is the personal ego of the leaders across the world or the power. It's a power game. But definitely the repercussion and implication, irrespective of which citizen, which state citizen it is definitely the common masses across the world. Today, whatever is happening in terms of missiles and terms of different cluster bombs, it is only and only the common masses which is at the receiving end. Whether when I mean that when we shatter a school with 150 girls buried under the ground, or the mass displacement where the people are migrating because of the war, it is alone and alone the common masses, young children who are at the receiving end.
It is such a sensitive situation. India shares ties with both Iran and Israel. What do you think India should take the stance?
I believe there was a golden policy long back where India has a non-aligned movement, right? There was no alignment at all, and India used to speak onto the matter. It's a very delicate choice as of now because with Israel we have a defense ties, we have a strategic ties with the Israelis, and as far as Iran is concerned, a lot of Indian citizens are there in the Iran working over there as well. Our major gas, the natural gas and the petroleums are through the Iran, and Iran and India shares century-old ties. Right, so in that case, I believe India should take a stand only on the merit. Non-alignment is the best policy, and India, the way India is, should really criticize and should discourage any kind of a conflict in terms of warfare.
It is certainly a tricky situation, but something more trickier is, as students who are directly exposed to global news, how should we interpret such conflicts without any fear or bias?
It's a very vital question, and especially when it comes from a Gen Z generation like you, it turns more pertinent. Especially in an era of infodemics, digital literacy is must. Your generation should know how to filter out whatever is coming because of the AI intervention. There's so much of a fake news which can impact the minds. Each state is into the narrative creations, and this generation should really know how to filter what is right and what is wrong. That's one. Secondly, I also understand that since because of the advent and advancement of the technology, now there are no physical barriers. So young leaders like you, and not alone in India, across the world, they must really communicate with each other so that whatever the impact the war are creating, or whatever so-called power-hungry people across the world, which is leading the different states into conflict, if your generation gets into the meaningful dialogue with each other, you to you, certainly it is going to at the least mitigate the impact of the war and the prospective war as well.
Certainly. We as Gen Z never believe that war is the solution. We believe war is never an answer. Do you think war is the solution when the cost is human lives, displacement, and generational trauma?
In any terms, war cannot be justified. The problem and the paradox today is the traditional diplomacy is having a potential shift, and this potential shift is to the gray zone warfare or the direct attacks or the conflicts. Otherwise, we have seen two world wars, and post that, looking at the impact what the Hiroshima and Nagasaki has done to the world, and not alone to that generation, even the prospective futuristic generation, there have been a different international organization which came into the place. There was an international convention to which most of the states were the signatories, but frankly, the way we are getting into a gray zone warfare, right? Without giving a cognizance to what is right or what is wrong, and without giving honor to the organization like UN, it is turning into a lethal paradox. But frankly speaking, whatever we are seeing the results right now, each of the countries, directly or indirectly, which has been part of this warfare, is not at the game. So certainly now the entire world is into a very transition state. Either it will look forward to get into the traditional diplomacy where the different international organizations should be an impactful role player, or otherwise the entire world is going to shift towards a very new world order.
In wars like Iran and Israel, do you think superpowers help in resolving the conflict or contribute in escalating them?
You want to fix your principle on a very difficult and attack question, but I'll answer that, because first of all we have to define who's the superpower. To me, the Spain is also a superpower who has the metal itself to speak what is right into a given scenario. So it all depend on the definition of the superpower. But even if I take your question literally, trust me, it's a very per se impression that superpower has failed to promote a peace. Rather, it has escalated the war.
History has shown us repeated cycles of conflict. Why do you think that war is still chosen as a solution, and why do you believe war can never be the solution to bring world peace?
Human nature is constant. The greed, the lust, the vicious factor. Simultaneously, the virtuous factor is also constant. It depends on what kind of the people come into the power across the world, into the leadership. It completely depends on them. We talk of the democracy, and if you see most of the states which has gone into the warfare, into the yesteryears, is claimed to be the democratic in their outlook, but repercussions are writ large today. But it depends on we the citizens. I'm not talking of the India, across. We should be sensible enough. We should be discarding our biasnesses and favoritism and should vote on the merit. If the right people are onto the leadership in the regime, I'm pretty sure that the world will be a better place to live.
If you had to give one message, especially to young minds like ours, about these conflicts, what would it be?
Learn from the conflicts, look for the resolution. Try bridging across the barriers of the border with the youth of the other countries. That's the only message I can give.
Thank you for this insightful words, sir. Choose peace over war. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for our next podcast.